Hi there. I'm Rachita Sharma, AVP Client Strategy and Growth at NP Digital India. Welcome to another exciting yet insightful episode of Rebel Talks, powered by NP Digital India, where we are looking to capture the most engaging thoughts and strategies by some of the most influential leaders and change makers of the country. Today, we have Mr. Sunil Nat, who's the head of e-commerce and digital strategy at Galderma, India. Sunil, a warm welcome to our episode.
Thank you. Thank you.
Could you give us a glimpse about your fascinating journey and how did you get into the dermatology industry?
Okay, I guess it's a quite a deep question in journey when it's, you say, close to 15 years now. Started as an advertising person. I was running my own boutique firm when I was in college. Then moved to Bombay. I worked with advertising companies. Then worked in consulting. Then I was leading digital transformation for some of the Indian clients. Then moved to Dubai and joined in a healthcare company. And then the journey started. So roughly today, last 6 to 7 years, working in healthcare, starting from leading a digital and e-commerce for pharmacies and clinics in Dubai, then coming back here, working with MSD and leading their digital strategy, and then finally with Galderma, which is into dermatology, where we have consumer as well as the prescription brands, which are available in the country today, and some of them are loved by customers. Yeah. So it's a fascinating, I think, last 3 years with Galderma, and the journey is going great, and every day there's a new challenge, and I'm enjoying.
Great to hear that. So Sunil, speaking of influencer marketing, particularly in the dermatology and the skincare category, I think it has been playing a pivotal role, and lots of brands are adopting it. And of course, there has been a huge evolution since the start. So what has been your go-to strategy in terms of driving or creating a full funnel plan when it comes to influencers, right from awareness and driving sales growth?
So I think today we are the oldest brand in derma, or let's say cosmetic industry, was started using influencer. We started roughly in 2020 when we went to consumers, so roughly 4 years today. And I think we have mastered that art today, that how we are scaling that. And I just give an example that 2 weeks ago, brand was trending on Twitter. And then a lot of consumers were talking about, and a lot of organic mention. But if you ask me today that how we envision then in 2020, because we come from a very deep pharma background, right? And taking a lot of your, let's say, celebrities running ads on TV doesn't make sense for us, because we are also available in dermatology and clinic, right? And we want to be relevant there. It's not that we want to become a consumer company. No, there is no intention like that. And I think we have figured out that consumers love cosmetic brands, but when it comes to the product quality and efficacy, I think cosmetic brands doesn't pay that values or doesn't deliver that value what consumers are looking for. And as the COVID hit the most of the part of the world, and people became conscious, started reading about what is they eating, how their immune system become better, and I think they started thinking skincare immune system as well. And they start worrying about that what goes into my skin, and that's where I think the derma cosmetic has emerged. And then people started looking for brands who had scientific studies, who has quality products, where a lot of test has been done before launching, right? And that's where I think this entire thing helped us. And we always use a combination of dermatologist influencers as well as your skin and beauty influencers, a healthy mix of both in terms of convincing people. And I generally, people say that your influencer marketing is a mid-funnel activity, but for us, it turned out to be an entire funnel activity where we created an awareness. This also helped in terms of converting people, and somewhere those people, once they buy the product, because product is delivering, the advocacy converts, right? So it worked out in full funnel, and we are still continuing with that, and still a lot of good numbers and data. So if I give you data today, Cetaphil is the number one skincare brand on Amazon today, and also on Nykaa. In prescription channel, we are already number one in the country. and we are continuing that. And in terms of awareness, we are number fourth after the big brands in the country and the mass brands in the country, right? Without spending so much of money. So
Right.
a lot of precision marketing has happened using digital influencers, which has helped us to reach where we are today.
Great. So you mentioned about the careful filtering that is done when you are selecting the influencers. Now, considering the landscape of social commerce, there are lots of local brands coming up. How do you maintain your, the level of perfection that, a brand like Cetaphil has to maintain while also making sure the reach of the influencers and you are also getting the countable KPIs? What is your thought process there?
So we are not collaborating with any Tom, Dick, and Harry in the country today. If you really ask us, I think we first look at the authenticity of the influencers. Because it's booming, a lot of people are now buying followers, right? And their engagement is not that great. So we use a lot of tool to first filter their authenticity. Then we look whether they will fit into our brand philosophy, whether they will fit into our content philosophy, and how they speak, what they speak, and whether they're able to deliver the value what we're looking at. And then we shortlist them, and then accordingly we plan our collaboration with them, and then we go ahead. So it's a long process we take, but once we finalize them, we know that they're going to deliver the value for us.
Right. Okay, so I'll shift now the conversation towards the innovation part. Since your expertise lies a lot towards digital transformation as well, what is it that you want to achieve for a brand, and any tips that you would want to give to the marketers who are, initiating their, career into the digital transformation piece?
So when I've started, I was literally looking at digital as from an advertising lens. But it's not an only advertising lens. I got to know that there's a more beyond advertising when you use digital. Technology and innovation is one of the key pillars. And when we look at today, there are a lot of technologies, innovations has come up which can used by advertisers to sharpen their marketing and then reach out to right TG. So connected TV is one of them, if you see, right? Then people are coming up with a more targeted approach that how you can segment your consumers. So STP tools has come up.
Right.
So when you use connected TV, you don't need to advertise on TV. So you're saving a lot of money, reaching out to right audience. In the same time, when you're doing connected TV, you can also show ad to the consumers on mobile. You can even, there are technology where your consumers are watching your competitor brand, and you can actually show your ad also, right? So I think innovation plays a huge role, and in today's era, when things are changing so fast, I think every day something new is coming up. So in my personal opinion, if somebody really want to make their career big in digital marketing or digital strategy or transformation, you say, the one important thing is that you need to agile.
Right.
So like I read a lot, learning from that, applying those things. And I think in digital, we know nothing is foolproof formula. There is no secret sauce, right? What you need to do is that you try 10 things, you fail in five you succeed. Then you try another 10 things. And this is how our journey builds up, that we keep trying what news come up, we'll fail it, we'll learn fast, and then we reapply. So I think people should be ready with it, that they should be okay to fail so they can learn. And then the only way is that you keep learning, keep growing, and keep doing it. Yeah.
Great. So considering your previous, experience, you moved from pharmaceutical towards dermatology. How do you think the dynamics have changed when it comes to marketing? Because in pharmaceutical, there are lots of parameters, lots of ethical considerations, rules that you need to follow. So how has it pan out?
So I think they still exist. It's not that it's have changed, because even if a dermatology is still a pharma company. So, and I think it's required as well in the country, not only in India, but globally, that what you're showing to consumer, you're showing the truth, right? And that's where I like the derma as a market, not the cosmetic brands, because when they talk on the data, right? So there is a study published, there is a data published on particular claim when they're saying, if somebody is saying that your, let's say, dark spots go away in 3 weeks. So there is a data set has been studied with good amount of people, with good amount of ethnicity, but different countries, then only they can claim those, right? Whereas cosmetic brand cannot say this. So that's actually essence, and I think consumers today understand that the companies who are deep rooted into dermatology and come with the derma cosmetic things, there's a lot of data and efficacy which they provide, and I think that's where it builds up the trust. So we are complying with that. Sometimes there are a lot of restrictions comes globally and sometime in India also, because we are also evolving as a country. There are a lot of new laws coming every day. So again, like we test, we fail, we learn, and then we again try.
Great. So you talked about the data efficacy. If I would have to ask you, how do you plan to amalgamate the combination of beauty, science, and digital transformation? Say, how do you see the landscape in the next 2-3 years, considering so many local brands in the beauty industry are coming up? What would
So
set you apart?
I'm keep checking the data, and as I'm a sales guy, I think my morning starts with the data. So I go, I check the dashboards, how our sales is happening, how other competitions are doing. So there are a lot of tools available, which I just open, and then when I'm looking at today, and that's my personal opinion and perception, which might be wrong also, that uh, people are not anymore interested in beauty and cosmetic. So I'll give an example. Earlier, people used to talk about that you look for skin whitening or skin brightening. But today, I think the myth is gone. I don't think any product in the market can make you fair. What they can do is that whatever skin tone you have, it can make it clear, right? So if you have dark spots, if you have acne spots, right, that can go away with the right product if you use, right? So people now moving into a direction where they want to understand more from, like I'm saying, from a not cosmetic but derma cosmetic, where the brand is promising the right claims and right communication to consumers and saying this is what will happen. So don't fall into the trap. And then second is that when you communicate this with innovation, I think that's make more sense and more trust. So
Great.
so that's how it should go hand in hand.
Understood. I'll bring back into the influencer marketing piece. Lot of the brands like aggregators like Purple, they have gone hyper local, right? With lots of localized, and they're reaching to the tier 2, tier 3 cities. And for them, Nykaa, for the audience there, Nykaa is their go-to platform. So for a brand as evolved as Cetaphil, do you see, like, do you promote a very cohort-based influencer strategy towards those tier 2, tier 3
Yes, we do.
cities? Because there is a factor of the expertise and the dermatology. Maybe they are not aware of the concept. So how do you perceive that challenge?
So I think today education is free. Everybody is hooked up to phone, and you have Googles and YouTube. A lot of skincare tips. People are talking about tips, how to take care. And I believe we as a country are very diverse from state to state, right? And language changes the emotions of the people. So if you ask me today, are we doing regional influences? Yes, we do. But we do very sharp and very targeted,
Okay.
right? So in certain geographies, we are very strong as a brand. So yes, we do the regional. Certain geographies, we are not very strong. So there we don't go regional, right? So I'll give you an example. In North, regional will not much affect you, where you can use maybe English, Hindi, and
Right.
but when you comes down to, let's say, go to Maharashtra and then go to other states, your regional languages has more stronghold. So that's where then we work on regional languages also to target those consumers who are in tier 2, tier 3 also.
Okay. So have you identified a particular pattern that's there in those areas, which is a bit different from the metro audience?
It's not a pattern of influencer marketing, it's a pattern of consumers.
Right.
How they consume, right? So today, I think the content creator, the influencers also knows that what people like, what tone they like, what color they like, and I think that's where when we working with them, we make sure that we are creating the right content which reaches to them. Like again, saying there's no secret sauce to this. You might working today, this influencer working very well,
Yeah.
it might stop working for you from next month onwards. So that's completely possible and happens. But then you need to keep figure out and keep moving and keep testing the other things and that which works.
Right. There are lots of AI-driven characters now. There are virtual influencers, and that sort of curtails even a bigger need of, what we are seeing is ethical, is it correct, is it safe? So as a brand, have you tried that space, or do you plan to?
So if you really ask me, I'm a little scared to use that today,
Hmm.
right? Because the technology is pretty new,
Yeah.
and every technology has its disadvantage and advantage both. So before I move on to and just try to have advantage, I think I should have that understanding what could be the repercussion of that, right? So as of now, we are not trying it. I want to be a little careful because we I come from a company where whatever we say we say with the data, right? We don't speak without that. So I think I'm not saying I'll not use this in future, but before that, I think there's a lot of proof of the pudding has to happen, that how this can actually help advertisers, how this can actually help people, that AI is really helping. Yes, it's helping in some way and other. People are using your chat GPT and a lot of other things, but in real sense, like you're saying, AI generated influencers, I think there's a long way to go, and I think we need to wait and watch and be careful about that how we go there, right?
So extremely well said, Sunil. So finally, wanted to ask, how do you create a balance between your personal time and promoting personal growth? You mentioned that you love to read. So any recommendations or any tips that you would like to give to the marketers, to the new age marketers?
I think this is really important, and I think I've found, and I got this learning in my first company where I worked for 28 days, that you are dispensable any day, right? If you die today, next day there'll be somebody else working for you. So even though I'm in Bombay, my time to reach office is 8:39 most of the time,
Okay.
and I leave by 5:36, come back home by 7:30. Then I go to gym or I go for a run. So 4 to 5 days in a week is what I spend on myself, which is physical activity. Then spend time with the family, because then you have a time. So then whatever time you working in office, whatever stress you have after coming, and that goes away. And when it comes to reading, so I travel a lot. After joining Galderma India, there's a lot of roughly 10-15 days I'm traveling. And I'll tell you, last 3 years, I have not watched a single episode or a movie in a flight.
Oh.
So I always carry a physical book and I try to finish that. So last year, I roughly finished 15 books. This year, I've already completed 3. I'm on 4th. So that really helped me. And I can say this today to all of you, that I'm very different person when I joined Galderma and today what I am. And I think this all the way is what learning has helped. So all those books making small impact on me as personally and professionally. So this is how I'm utilizing my time. And I think when it comes to, let's say, watching TVs and all, so I watch maybe once in a month, or maybe once in a 2 month, when I hear a lot of recommendations about some shows and movies. Otherwise, I don't watch. I prefer reading, spending time on physical activities. And I believe if most of the people do that, I think the balance between work, life will automatically come in.
Great. I think that calls for a very high level of self-determination and control. I think right now the distraction that's happening across, I think that's really commendable of you. You mentioned you've traveled a lot. Wanted to ask, how have you seen the landscape of marketing? And you've dealt with agencies here, you've dealt with marketers in India, and wherever different countries that you travel, what is the one major change that you have seen maybe?
So in the country, if you look at today, we are. People used to say we are a developing country, but I think most of the innovations globally, which are happening, actually done by Indians today, right? So we, in terms of advertising, go very ahead. I
Right.
worked in Middle East, and now I'm very closely working with the Japan countries also. I think we are very ahead of the curve, and
Oh.
in most part of the countries, and except you can say US and UK, but still we are good at tech. So we are way ahead, and I think we are capitalizing them very well. And that's where, if you see today, our country is growing. It's not just by growing because there's a lot of good work happening within the country, right? And we are such a huge and diverse country. I think a lot of consumption happen within the country. So people are evolving, appreciating innovations, appreciating new marketing ideas which has come in, and that's where you see that brands are building up in the country, and then they are doing very well as well. And what you said about determination, I think that's my personal opinion that people need to be disciplined. Once you are disciplined, you don't need any motivation because then you know you have to do this every day.
True.
So even if you want to inculcate a reading habit, reaching office on time, if you do this a year, I think it will become a part of your life, and then you no longer need a motivation to do those stuff. It's part of your life, and you're doing that the day you do, every day you do.
That's true. That's true. One last question. You love to read a lot. One must-read book for marketers that you'd like to recommend.
So I think not only for marketers, for leaders, I have recently reading a book, and I think I've completed half the book called as Amp It Up. Amp It Up. So I think everybody should read this book if they are in leadership position, and luckily that book has been given to us by our JAPEC leader, and because we today as organization is doing fantastically well, right? There is a lot of sense of urgency within the organization today. So in India, yes, we are an MNC, but the entire team in India is work like a startup, right? So we are like every day brainstorming, looking for new ideas, and everybody is a contributor in the role. So when you say so, differentiation is that what kind of team member you have, whether they are the driver or passengers. So today, luckily, most of the people who are working with us are drivers, right? So the book is about that, and it's written by a gentleman. I forgot his name, but he used to be a toilet cleaner and end up becoming a CEO of 3 companies where he took over companies from private companies to a public listing companies. So it's a very fantastic book. If you get a time, do
We'll make
read
sure
about
we'll
it. Yeah.
add the book name in our podcast description.
So,
Well, this marks the end of our conversation. Thank you so much for your time here.
thank you, Rachita.
I'm sure the listeners got great deal of insight, especially when it comes to influencer marketing and how it has evolved. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for
so
being on
much,
our
and
show.
thank you so much for NP Digital team also for inviting.